All right, this is going to be the training on a broad spectrum of things for kids on TV. This is going to be some really important technical stuff. So if you're doing anything with the editing for uh, intros, outros, games, really anything that's got a person on it with a green screen, this is a video you're going to want to check out. I'm going to try to put this back to normal. So here's what we have here. I've just kind of dragged a few things into a project here. So I've got just a motion background from Envato. Here's kind of the final product of what we want to get some of this footage to look like. And this right here, this massive behemoth, is 15 gigabytes of fun editing stuff that we get to look at. Okay, don't be intimidated though. We're going to get through this together. So here's what we want to look at first. Whenever we throw something in, we can, honestly, it doesn't really matter which order we want to deal with it in. Just for our sake, we're going to start with the audio and then move to the visual. So these files, this might change in the future, but for right now, this is typically how we're doing it. The camera that we have, it's got a few audio channels on it. It's got a mic that's inside the camera, and then it's got a shotgun mic, which you can see right here in the shot. Now, whenever we're like that footage gets like exported out, all that audio gets put into different channels. So we want to make sure that the mic that's inside the camera, which is like 20 feet away from where Sarah's standing at right there, isn't the mic that's on. We want to make sure that it's the shotgun mic that's right above there. So what we're going to do is we are going to take out channel 3 and channel 4. That's typically what that internal mic is set to, but you can hear it right afterwards. The easiest way to be able to tell exactly what it is, and you can see it right here whenever you kind of even look across the bottom of how there's specific moments where you can see it, and even if you turn the audio up, you can see that there's a bunch of these gaps here. Because of the quality of the mic, it's only going to capture like certain levels, whereas these ones, when we throw them in, you'll see all this space starts filling in. Because the quality of that mic isn't as good, it's going to pick up random stuff that we don't want it to pick up. So it's really easy to spot which mic we want. So after we hit that, what we'll see is during some of these talking segments, this stuff right here, they're not talking too loud. They don't need to be yelling, but if we try to throw music underneath it, we're probably not going to be able to hear them, or we're going to have to turn the music down so low that we're not going to hear what the music is. So how do we deal with that? Over here, we have some effects. So we have the video effects, and if we scroll down, we have the audio effects. So we're going to hit EQ, and we are going to throw an EQ on this. So when I throw something just on the audio, it's going to show up here. If I throw an audio effect anyway, once I hit on the clip, I'll be able to see it up here. So I pull this down, and once I do a video effect, I'll see it in this column. So we've thrown an EQ on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little button right here. Then it's going to show this fancy little thing. Now, in some settings, you'd actually want to adjust all these different ones so that it does something different. For what we're doing right now, it's not like Sean's voice is so low that we need to change something, or Sarah's voice is too high that we need to bring down some of the frequency levels. What we need to do is we need to adjust the gain overall. So all that we're going to do is we're going to bump this up about 10 dB there, okay? So that's taking all the levels across the whole board, and we're just taking it up a little bit. Now, whenever we look at our final product over here, we're just going to kind of match it and see exactly if that was right whenever we wanted to do it. And yep, we had a 10 there as well. And you can, on a Final Cut, you can bring it up to a max of like 12 dB just in general. We would listen to it back. I don't know how well the mic's going to be able to pick it up, but you'll just want to listen to it back again. There's certain times where if you turn it up too high, or even if you don't turn it up high at all, you'll be able to hear somebody's yelling. It almost makes this shorting out, distorted sound, which is really funny in TikTok, but not exactly what we're looking for here. But this way we're able to see where some of the gaps are, where people are done talking, and you'll be able to see, like in this moment here, and the audio is still loading because of how big of a file this is. But that's typically what we're dealing with there. All right, so now that we've done all of the audio stuff, what we're going to do now is we'll focus on some of the visual stuff, okay? So what we're going to do, it doesn't really matter where you put it at, you just want to put it right over here. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to crop this. So you're going to want to make sure that The only thing that is in this image is the green screen itself. So if I hit this right here, hit that little arrow down, I can hit crop, okay? Now, sometimes it's a little bit weird with grabbing some of the edges. So I'm gonna just grab that edge right there. Come on, work with me today. All right, so if it does this weird thing with you, just reduce the size and then bring everything in and then adjust it a little bit more once you have a little bit more of an eye on it. All right, so now I'm gonna set it back to fit. It's just the biggest one it can be there. All right, so I have down from the feet, and I would put it right here, but I'm not entirely for sure how high Sean raises his hands. So I see the mics there, so this is about as high as I can make it. So that seems about good there. So then I'm gonna hit done. So this is the only box that this entire thing is gonna be in, unless we wanna cut it and add something else somewhere else. So I know that the only thing I have to worry about is that green background, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to my video effects and I'm going to hit keying, okay? Now there's a keyer that I can add right to this, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And if I'm already on this and I'm holding this right here, it's going to show me like a sample. All right, so I hit keyer and there's something that I see already. Okay, so I guess I missed part of that pole there. So I need to bring this in a little bit more. Okay, and on this side, maybe bring it in a little bit as well. Okay, but you can still see some of the box there, right? It's a little bit weird. So what I'm going to do first, I need to make sure that I just fill in some of these holes. And what that means is basically there's some times where the keyer, and you can see some of the light coming through the back of like Sean's legs there. It will, certain colors, it just doesn't like them. So I'm going to just hit 1. And there we go. See how that like made Sean like a little bit more solid? That's exactly what we want to happen there so that he's not becoming a ghost. But as you can see, there's still some other aspects to that green screen that are there because there was a ginormous window right next to us. So what I'm going to do, and this is really important, I'm going to turn the keyer off. I'm going to grab another keyer, and I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to hit fill holes. I'm going to then hide this, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn the other keyer back on. Okay, so did you see when I turn that back on, this whole side right here, now that disappears, okay? There's still a little bit of a box though. So let's see if I turn these 2 keyers off, if I can get just one more side of this to be able to interact. If you have other ideas of how to do this or you look up other tutorials, I'm sure there'll be more of a succinct way to be able to figure this out. This is just kind of the way that I've been able to figure out how to do it so far. So I have that one keyer that I'm going to turn on. That's the third one. And okay, so that third one, see how it really doesn't do anything? But some of the box is kind of starting to disappear. So this is typically where we want it. If there's stuff down here, like you can kind of see like the floor where Sarah's standing on, we'll just crop it out so that you can not see that. But before we get to that, what we have to do is this thing in the middle, okay? So as you can see, Sean and Sarah do not look like Sean and Sarah. They look like they should be in a hospital right now because of how pale their skin is, right? So what we're going to do first, we're not going to touch color, we're going to touch saturation and exposure. What I'm going to do first is take these shadows and I'm going to turn these up a little bit. I usually like putting them at about like 55, something more like that. And then I'm going to put this up at around like 16, okay? Then I'm going to go over to exposure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch these shadows and I'm going to take this down to about -30. All right, you see the life starting to come into them. And this one, I'm going to put it about -20, okay? All right, so they look like they're like actually like human beings now. And more importantly, in that background, now they look like they could actually fit there and like be like normal human beings. But we're not done with them yet because we have to crop them. So what we have to do now is we have to go down to the transform tab, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take this entire thing and we're going to scale it, okay? So we're going to make them a lot bigger, okay? We have our X and Y positions, okay? X is going to be our horizontal, Y is going to be our vertical. So I want to make sure that they're centered, okay? That looks pretty centered there. And then I'm going to bring it down so that we're not losing anybody's head. Cool. And for a normal video, you'd start watching it back and playing it back and make sure that it looks okay and sounds okay and all that other stuff. And I'm going to just turn that video off so that we're not seeing doubles. Okay, so whenever you first insert a video, that is the stuff that you want to do first and foremost. And here's why. There's some videos where, oh, okay, we want to take Sean and Sarah, and for this first part, we are going to have them like normal on this size, okay? And then over here in this next part of the clip, let's say we wanted to make them bigger here. Like we really wanted to see exactly what their facial expressions were. So we were going to zoom in and see exactly what it was. So if I don't have all those settings exactly the same right off the bat, that means I'm going to have to go back and do twice the amount of work, or in some cases, if you've done like a bunch of zoom ins or zoom outs, you'll have to do like 4 times as much work. So whenever you first insert something in, that's literally the first thing you want to take care of. I learned that the hard way, so just trust me on it. So once we have them in there, what you'll want to start doing after that is being able to clip the actual size and length of the clip that you're looking for. So this down here, if we were just doing the intro, which is what this is, I think this is the intro for episode 10 or something like that. What I'm going to do, obviously this is like the final product, so I don't know what that is. But I can see after looking at this, okay, and just broadly speaking, is like, all right, I've got 2 people in here, and I know they're going to be doing stuff, so I can just immediately start cutting some massive things here. If I'm just doing the intro, I don't need any of that, okay? Obviously don't. But then I'm seeing some other little things in here as well of, okay, what is this ginormous dip here? Okay. And you can tell by people's facial expressions after you start to look, like Sarah having that little like disengaged look right there means she's not on camera, or any of this of like how they will and will not look at the camera. You can tell all this right here. None of that is stuff that's intentionally supposed to be there. You can even tell usually from the beginning. Okay, so they're talking through some lines there. They're talking through some stuff. Okay, Sean made some kind of a joke. Now they're looking at the camera to make sure that they're ready. And right about here, you can even see in the audio here of this ginormous dip that happens and this spike that starts. So I'm going to zoom in, and I want this clip to start exactly when the audio does. Not whenever it looks like Sarah's going to talk, but I'm going to start right here. I'm going to clip out all of that, okay? So there's this whole big thing that we don't need at all. And let's just, for curiosity's sake, see how well it matches up. Okay, so as you can see, it's literally almost exactly the same. It's what, like 1/12 of a second that we're like off there. So without even being able to watch the video, there's aspects that you'll be able to see and identify just in what we have there as a file. There might be some more stuff that as you play it back and listen to, you'll be able to see and examine, but this is probably the most important part that you want to do right off the bat, is making sure that we have all of that in there. So that's probably the first major thing that you want to see. The other aspect that we want to focus on and make sure that we understand is exactly how we're balancing out the music in context with some of this other stuff. So let's see if I've got like a random audio file in here that I can grab for a second. Some type of song. Oh, perfect. Let's grab Trust and Obey. We're going to throw that underneath them. Okay, so audio in this context, we can look at as being a little bit more visual, just to be able to see exactly what it looks like rather than just having to listen with your ear. So as you can see right now, it's going to say it's not raised up any dB here. And up here, we know that we had to originally boost it by 12, then put an EQ on it and boost it by 10 more dB. So we're boosting this by 22 dB already. So it's not like we can make this any louder. And as you can see from some of these spots here, some of this red and yellow spots, these peaks here, we don't want to try to push it anymore. Instead, what we want to do is bring this down. So typically, what I'll end up doing for a lot of songs and music that's actually underneath people, I'm going to want to put it at like -20, or sometimes if it's already low music, -15. But if I put it at -20, you're going to think right off the bat, like, you can't hear any of that. That's not even going to be there. So let's actually listen to it and see if you can hear any of that in the background.
Here, there you go.
I don't want to touch that.
And then hand sanitizer from here.
Okay.
Would you like
Do
hand
you need a little
sanitizer?
help? Yeah.
Okay, so again, not sure if the mic can pick that up, but whenever you actually go back and listen to it, you'll be able to hear like, okay, there's enough of that in there that there is some music underneath them. And obviously, Trust and Obey is not a song that we'd ever put underneath there, but we now have an idea of exactly how loud the music should be whenever it is underneath it, versus just throwing some random song in there and trying to adjust the audio afterwards. So we want to focus on this first, make sure that we have that in there, and that is the majority of the stuff that you'll be doing whenever we're just editing these clips. With this, we'll want to copy that and make sure it goes all the way underneath. But that's the majority of it, so hopefully that helps.